call the meeting to order. This is a scheduled meeting of the Historic Resources Commission for the City of Albany. If there are any people signed up to provide comment, or if we have any comments from the floor, we just request that those comments be kept to the matter at hand under the purview of the HRC, and that they be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Attending this evening, myself, John Myers, the chair, Commissioner Garrity, Commissioner Pinckney, Commissioner McEnany, and Commissioner Hacker. So we do have 5 people in attendance. We have a quorum. Also, Aaron Glennon, the Deputy Planning Director, and Christopher Lohman, the Historic Preservation Planner, is in attendance, and Jason Thomas, our legal counsel, who will guide us through the process of these multiple COAs for the under consideration this evening. Moving right to the agenda, we have one item on the agenda this evening, and it is the consideration of the South Albany Scattered Site Redevelopment Project in the South End Groesbeckville Historic District. This was the subject of an extensive workshop session held on October 10th. So there was quite a bit of discussion during that workshop session. And now we are here to consider this as a public hearing and provide the appropriate certificate of appropriateness with any comment that is appropriate to the consideration. The package is broken into 27 individual COAs, so it is a rather massive undertaking to consider each one of these individually. But in reviewing the package, I think that the developer did a very good job responding to the comments that were offered at the workshop session, and certainly look forward to going through this in greater detail during this hearing. So if you would like to come forward to represent the project.
Yes.
Much snow out in Rochester?
Yeah, we got probably about a lot more snow than here. Probably had about, I don't know, 3 to 5 inches. Not as much as Buffalo. Finally got something. That's great for the kids. And yeah, like we need 15 more minutes in the morning to like shovel the snow. I'm from California, so it's been an adjustment, but I'm from Greece. Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for having us here today. As John mentioned earlier, we were here in October, and we went over the 27 COAs. Prior to that, we had gone through, I think we had done a general overview, probably 2 previous ones, because the first time we did it, we didn't have the 22 additional lots that were added in after the first session. So once we had the additional lots, we came in for a sort of generalized workshop. And then last session on October 10th, we had a more extensive, very detailed 27 COAs broken down and discussed. So I guess, I don't know if it's going to be one COA and then do the next and then do the next and do the next. So kind of, I can just mention that we have 62 lots, about 166 units. It's a mix of 1, 2, and 3 beds with a couple of 4-bed single-family homes that we're proposing. We also have 4 larger buildings, multi-unit buildings that have amenity spaces on the ground floor as well as an accessible unit on 10, 23, and 33 Second Ave, and also on 325 to 331 South Pearl. The South Pearl building will have a bit of a more commercial space, a tenant to be determined there since it's a much more commercial area. The other 3 buildings have amenities for the tenants, such as a community room, offices for the property management, and then fitness and laundry for the tenants as well. So we, took your comments and revised the drawings, and I think just big picture wise, we had a design which was a bit more, a little more. It had materials that were a bit different than what you would typically see in this neighborhood. Initially, we had more board and batten, and we also had some smooth panels with reveals, and then also the clapboard siding. And then after a couple iterations, we whittled down the panels, but kept the board and batten. But after the last session that we had, we did an extensive sort of review of the neighborhood, of what really is going on in this area, and determined that the lap siding makes the most sense for the units. There are a couple of buildings that we did keep just for variation, the smooth panels, and that was actually a comment made to, hey, at least keep something there, otherwise it's all going to look the same. So we did ask variation. We did tone down the colors. We did also sort of the short, squat, 2-story buildings that were at the ends. We tried to stretch them up and added some detail to the windows and to the doors to kind of give them a more vertical kind of feel. Actually made a couple buildings a little bit taller just so that it didn't look as squat as we had previously shown to you guys. So we can go through those through each COA. And it is confusing for us because we started this off with DPRs, and then they had, numbers that start at 0177 and then would skip because of the additional sites. So then we had to shift everything to COA 1057. So I'll try to go through them. So 1057 is one of our I believe this one is the 6th building, or no, this is the 3. Sorry, this is the one that is on South Pearl. So I don't know. I know it's hard to see because they're so big, but we did. That was the previous one. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. To clarify, so what I did.
Thank you.
We will be going through each COA one at a time. We'll vote and consider each one individually. Yeah. And then so on everyone except I think 2 of the commercial structures that were a bit larger and wouldn't size well, they have the October, December submission.
Oh,
yeah, thank you. This makes a lot of sense.
And then it will blow up in the next one. So if you're like, oh, I can't see super well in that, we will go into the current picture.
So I'll just go over some of the changes, which you can see. In this case here, the sort of larger panel, smooth panel, didn't really fit into this building block, it being so small, and we had board and batten, so it was one that had a lot of variety. So what we did was in our new reiteration, we changed the materials to be more in line with the buildings in the area. And one of the things that did come up said, hey, it'd be nice to be able to add a little bit of pop with the canopies. Can you, add some color instead of them all just being gray or black? So that's, you can see here, the windows, the trim was added on the perimeter of the windows just to give a little bit more of a more filled in kind of a feeling. And as you can see on the buildings on the left and right, underneath the first floor windows is actually panels that kind of extend the window to make it look like the French windows that had been mentioned, so that there's more of a verticality along the storefronts. The same windows, is just that there we have some panels that give it a little bit of an extension. The other thing we also did was for the foundation wall, you can see the seams that the buildings will have. So it's not just a plain concrete kind of bare look. The other thing you could see is that on the stoops, there are vertical seams that can be added just to give it some texture as you go around it, so that the staircases have a little bit more of a texture and feel to it. So
they're totally flush up at the soffit. Was that intended, or are there going to be some kind of muted brackets or something to break up that?
So there is a little bit of a bump out. It's not completely flush, but it's
I'm
not.
thinking more of the vertical. Usually there's a couple of brackets, one on each edge. And,
For the cornices?
yeah. And they don't have to extend a lot, but particularly in the big building, if they some kind of dividing it.
I think the intention was to kind of keep a smooth soffit. I think initially we had looked into doing some sort of dental-like, details, but it it became a little busy.
It's more on the vertical that I was concerned. But the two in the little are very small buildings, but that's all right.
Yeah, and one thing we did, we try to stretch them out a little bit so that they are a little taller. And then as you can see, the panels below the windows there to kind of give a little bit more verticality. One thing is at the entrance canopies, you can see they're a little higher because there's a panel, almost transom-like, but it's just a panel that's a thick trim that's over the doors to kind of give a bit more presence to that entrance.
And it's in line with the lintels of the windows.
Yeah,
Follows the line. I think the brackets are a good idea, but it also it makes it look more historic.
Yeah.
We wanted to blend in with the historic district, but not, copy every single detail, And this makes it look a lot more.
Also, the one in the middle would be difficult because they couldn't. You're used to things being centered or four evens, and because the windows don't line up that way, it would clash with it. So I would.
And one thing that also did come up in the last session that we revised was that the window divided lights are just these two options spread out, but no 4/2s or anything. So
you don't have to do that. You don't have to do 2/2 if you don't want to. Well, it's all a matter of expense.
Right. Yeah. So we can look at it. One of the reasons I kept the 2/2s was just because it gives it more of verticality for a building that was water, and that was the intention there.
So do we vote on this?
So you guys will vote on each individual COA, similar to what we did for the Clinton project.
I make a motion that we approve this grouping of
COA 1057.
COA 1057.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you.
Any further comment? All those in favor of the motion to accept?
Aye.
1057?
Aye.
All those opposed?
What?
All right, that is carried.
Just for board members real quick, these motions can be super simple, unless you want to add conditions, obviously, for any of them, but just motion to approve COA number blank. That's it, pretty much. Good.
I'll try to remember the COA.
I memorized them, every night. Flashcards.
You sleep in the packet, just go through osmosis.
I think this was 1077 and then it jumps. So this one here is a part of a larger block. This one, you just see 3 there, but it is part of a larger. There's a gap between sort of a little alley about, because we have to have 3.5, so maybe about I forget exactly the distance between the two buildings, but it continues on the left with another building block.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so what I did here was also give a little bit of context to some of that. So the building on the right is actually, it is a two-story building, but it has the basement down below. And so one of the reasons why we have certain heights for the buildings and number of stories is because we needed to get to a certain unit mix. And there were certain situations where buildings were able to come down and we could have a lot of duplexes, but the code does permit the one per floor up to three, I think 3.5. So then we took advantage of that, being able to maximize the number of units to make the project viable in terms of unit mix. So here you can see it's 3 of the same building types. One of the things that we did consider here was, the canopies, just to add some color and variety. One of the comments that was provided last month was there were times where certain buildings were the same next to each other. So then they looked more monolithic and it looked more like, 2 larger buildings or 3 larger or 1 large building instead of 3. So here what I did was varied the colors so that you could see the distinction between the building types. Obviously, the stoops here are high. Chris did mention, there's potential to have the stoop underneath be open and have some room for trash and storage, which we are considering. The one thing I will say is that the stoop will have the same look. So we looked at different options and looked at, having metal frame staircases that would then have like an infill underneath. You see that a lot here. You see some wooden ones with like lattices. And so one of the thinking is, why change it too much to the point where it's like metal, concrete. So one of the things that can be done is the wall can be kept, metal pan, staircase can be underneath, in the stoop with a little gate in the backside to allow for, and it really only works where we have about 5 feet from basically from the floor to the landing, because we will need room for framing, and then those trash cans can be pretty big. So, it's no point in creating one and then not be able to fit any trash cans in there. So those have been considered, and we can work with staff and making sure that, that all gets to you guys. But this COA here, it's basically sort of a refinement of our previous one. I don't know if you have the one from October, but.
The extra piece of clapboard at the center, is that
Where is it?
the one that we were just looking at?
Oh, on the right, here, you go back to the next.
Where the top 3 windows, see the extra?
Yeah, so that's a graphic mistake.
Okay.
That's a graphic, it shows up on my prints,
Okay.
and I even went back and tried to, but if you zoomed in, and you can't hear because it's like a print thing, there is no trim piece that you'll see that kind of throughout the presentation, but it's a graphical glitch. There is no random, I think a line is missing from the print, so.
Make a motion that we approve COA 1058.
There you go.
Second,
Would you want to do we need the conditions to work on, be able to do the sleep review if they want to?
I mean, it can be it doesn't need a condition, it can just.
Okay, cool.
Wait a second, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So 1059 here has the panels. You'll see that here. That was left intentionally after our discussion last session. So it provides us with an opportunity to have provides us with the opportunity to break up the building a little bit and it not be so monotonous. So it's very similar to everything else that we've been speaking of. So these buildings that don't have the stoops, as you can see here, we have two that are accessible. The one on the right is a type B, so they're adaptable. We try to, the state requires or really wants every new construction to be a type B building, but the only time that they don't or that they allow you to not have it is if the existing conditions make it very difficult. And if, in this case, because we have row houses, we don't have driveways, we can't access the rear or the side of the units. So in the townhouses, wherever we have stoops, they're not type B, but wherever we have grade, we try to keep them, either accessible or type B. The one thing I did do on the panels per our discussion was the panel is centered with that extra little piece. It's just we have talked about, creating a vertical reveal that kind of centers the windows to some sort of datum so that it doesn't seem off. So that's just a vertical reveal that would be a little, with a little 2 foot or so space there between the panels to permit that to kind of to center it, But these were originally the orange panels that I know some people liked, but it was also, we were asked to tone it down, to mute it because it was a little too Halloween, but we did, and that was this, the orange, the bright orange was in like June or July submission. So so one of the things, so the green building on the right, you can see what we did do was sort of extend the trims of the windows to try to make them a little bit more, like there was a question about the windows just looking too small and the building looking kind of weird. So the other thing that we did was the distance between the small building and the one to the left of it is shorter now because the building was stretched out. Just the parapet stretched out. The building floor to floor is all the same. And then again, added the vertical sort of features to the windows to make it more vertical than horizontal as we had previously. So those were sort of the major changes. And obviously the color to the canopies to give it a little bit of a, a bit of character and people could identify with their canopy color. And the other thing I was thinking is that like the address number could have that same color, like the panel for it, so then that it could be a little more colorful, as you do see some very colorful homes in this area.
It's a quality of warmth.
Yeah.
So generally, are your windows dark aluminum?
They're a fiber composite.
But the color.
Yeah, the color we're proposing is like a black or a dark or a, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a modern.
It has a major impact visually, from white.
So as you can see here, so the other COA 1058, the small building and the last of these buildings with 1059 have more of a relationship, obviously, but there's always at some point going to be a jump. But to the left of it, you can see that the tall buildings on 147 is a 2-story, but it's really tall with a huge parapet and cornice. So that's where the one there, in my mind, does kind of balance the scale.
I like the step effect, because it correlates with the existing buildings and their step. I make a motion that we
It works with
approve.
the topography.
Sorry, excuse me?
I said it works with the topography.
Yes. I make a motion that we approve COA 1059.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in
I like to
favor?
go already.
Are you cheating and reading it off the screen?
Yes.
Well, I think it goes until like 1077, and then you got to go back to the other stuff.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1059 is cooked and in the books.
Right, so 151 Broad is a single structure, so it's on its own, doesn't have any buildings attached to it. There is a green space. This one was actually quite tricky because between the building with the gable, on the brick building at the end with the gable, 153 and 151. 153 is actually on a different zoning district. It's NU and E, and then 151 is RT zoning district. And for MU and E is actually quite small, and you would have to rezone it. So what we thought was like, well, this is an opportunity because it is too small to build something on there. And I don't know if it was a clerical error with the city just to provide a lot that's too small to technically be allowed. So what we decided was to make it a green space and then allow for some type of outdoor space that can be, used by the residents, the tenants. So the park is TBD, but it's just a green space, so there will be a gap between that brick building and that one as part of the development. And this building here is more in relation to the 149 next to it. Obviously, we don't have basements; it's all slab on grade, but it's kind of similar in rhythm and style. So that's pretty much it. And again, this one being 2 stories does have the panels underneath the windows to give it sort of a more vertical, and especially on the ground floor, the windows are a little bit taller than the ones on the second floor, so it kind of aligns with the neighborhood.
That existing building on the right, that must have been a spectacularly looking building with the tall windows and that massive cornice.
One thing I will say that if you zoom into that elevation there on the right, or the building that's to the right, when they built their stairs, they built into the adjacent property. So that'll be something that we'll have to, we're looking at different ways to kind of deal with that. But there's several of these where they've built decks on the adjacent properties or staircases that lead you to a second floor unit on adjacent properties that the land bank owns.
So it's an encroachment.
Encroachment, yeah, there's quite a bit of that, and it's something that as we develop the project further, there will be discussions with the property owners to mitigate those things and obviously work something out so that it works for everyone.
I make a motion to approve, what is it, CO?
1060.
I remember the 1060. I
COA.
forgot the other. COA, yeah, COA 1060. I'm saying COPD.
Might be something different.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second for 1060. All those approve?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
Okay, 155 Broad's also a standalone structure that has, very similar to the other buildings, it's just a different color variation that we added. Again, this would be a situation where there's an opportunity for the stoop to have some space underneath that we can, work with the city, especially as we go through site plan review to. Although in this case, it's interesting that it's a lot that's really wide, so the building itself has space on both sides to be able to put trash cans on the side of the house, and it's only a 2-unit building, so there are some kind of quirkinesses that happen throughout the project. As you can see there, the gap between the adjacent buildings does allow for some play there. So this is on the other side of Broad, crossing Second Ave, where you have that beautiful building there, that brick building there, and the lots here are, the one on the left goes like 200 feet. It's an extremely long lot, so it's one of these things where you're trying to maximize the site as much as possible, and it's also extremely steep. Both of these lots there.
In this image, there's something rather strange going on the left side. of
Yeah, so the
155?
building is angled, or the view is angled because all these lots are kind of skewed.
Okay,
So it's one of these things where we have to be parallel to something, so when you're parallel to the street, then you're creating these wedges. So in the site plan you would see, but that's the reasoning for this view to be, because of
Okay.
the angle, the
you got a
angle.
really skinny window back there.
Yeah, so it's just more that our depth view is further out
Yeah.
and the building is not. It's a weird site.
I make a motion to approve COA 1060, right?
61.
1060. I remember.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 1061 is carried.
So this is the building to the left of 1055. It's very similar to the other two-story duplex that has the canopy and then the windows. So here you can see it doesn't have that little skinny window. So some of the changes we made is we gave some texture and reveals both to the foundation wall and the stoop walls to have a bit more of character there. We did also work with our civil team to try to figure out, and also our structural team, because these sites are so steep that if you were to bring the building down, the building in the back is buried. So what you end up doing is really working with the grade, or in some situations, pushing your concrete, basically foundation wall up a little higher into the unit so that the dirt, the earth that can go against it is not on your wood framing. So we worked with them to bring it, I think, from like about almost 9 feet down to about 6 feet. So there you can see the difference. But it was a bit of grade changing that requires that we've been working with the DPR for the site plan review, and per the comment here, hey, try to lower those as much as possible. We got it to about, I think, 5.5 or 6. I forget the exact dimension, but
It certainly works a lot better than street view.
yeah, you're not as tall,
Yeah.
or you're not as short. As you can see, the building on the right is probably a little taller than what we're showing, but it's more because of that super steep grade. So you go to the back. You can even see the lot to the left has a staircase that takes you to something, to nowhere, I think. But it's an empty lot. Or having.
Make a motion. Make a motion to approve COA 1062.
I say it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 1062 is carried.
So, 134, 138, content, okay. So here it's very similar to what we have on the other side. So this is when you're on Broad, if you go, if you go west, it's on the upside, Clinton. So basically the Broad Street units and the these Clintons will be back to back. So it's downhill on the other side. That's why we have those stoops and tall sort of raised buildings, where here it's on the downhill side. So the front of our buildings are able to be at grade, and for consistency and our ability to be able to sort of, we match some of these buildings that are for the most part identical, and they work on the site. Just site-wise, because of the topography, it's always responding to that. Here they're on grade and don't have the stoops.
I make I make a motion to approve COA 1063.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1063 is approved.
20 to go.
Really? Oh, yeah, 'cause we did 27. Yeah, I mean, putting this together, I think it's gonna be a week, just like the packaging and also because we had a shift from DPRs to COAs. And I think, Chris, you did a good job of putting those together and
Yeah,
I think,
well played.
I think the overall street view with the existing sites really helped you guys kind of see the. All right, so this is, if you could just go, at this point, I think I've forgotten which one exactly is 147. I think there's, oh yes, the duplex one. So this one we did, so this one was an interesting one where previously we had them, if you go to what was previously, we had them at the same level. So this one is quite interesting because it doesn't work that way on the left. We looked at the site, we really looked at the terrain and the sidewalk, and it made more sense to kind of go with the natural sort of slope of the sidewalk. So it does step, which allows you to kind of have a similar building, but it staggers a bit. This one will be, hopefully like one of those you got to get along with your neighbor type of situations, but we are looking at keeping these sort of similar. It's a block of two that are the same, and here I believe we went with a sort of not black but a sort of a sand tone kind of different, just for variety, and obviously one is taller than the other, and we can't do anything with the stoops here because you would have to create a door on the street side, which you don't want to do.
Make a motion to approve COA 1064.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
It blends in.
1064.
Yeah, and I think the street view really does help because we work on these so much in a vacuum, but we also look at it when we're laying it out at the street view. But then if we're presenting it how we're just always working on it, it's hard for you guys to see that. So
That's why we recommend it.
yes,
Makes sense. And this is second half.
Oh, that's good.
oh, yeah, that's true. All right, so here is one of our bigger buildings, and the reasoning for a little bit of variety here was this is more of a commercial building that has a little bit more of a variation than just your typical clapboard, siding on top. So the big two elevations are along Second Ave and in this case is it Broad. Yes, Broad. So again, we're working a lot with grade along Broad Street. The entrance, the accessible entrance is along Second Ave because it's uphill, and I think we drew like a step there, but we would create some type of landing there and try to smooth it out to go down to the corner. And basically, when you come in through this side, you have an option on the door on the right takes you to the residences, and the door on the left takes you to the offices that are where the bigger windows are. One of the things that was commented on previously was that blue zone extended and created sort of an L. And I think it was Jack who was like, can you get rid of that, blue kind of boot like L over there? So what we did was just center the blue and then made the rest the white panels. And then if you go to the Broad Street elevation, there we have the little windows because they're on the kitchens and they're elevated due to the counters that we have there. So one of the things that we're doing there is matching some panels that match the trim of the windows to sort of give it a much more bigger sort of.
Change the label, it's Avenue, not Street.
Okay, I think that was, did I say so?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I think we put Second Ave.
On your drawings, it's all avenue, it was a mistake on our part.
Phew. All Denied. And then the blue portion does stick out a little bit. It's not flush with the white, and that idea is to give it a little bit more of a different, kind of variation in material.
These are metal panels, right?
No, those are fiber cement panels.
So it's sort of like a matte finish.
Yeah, I actually did bring the panels here, which I don't want to bore you guys with these, but let me take this. It's always hard to open, I'm sorry. So, they're sort of like kind of like a matte, like a kind of finish to them, and and then they come in different different varieties and colors, so then you can have something that could give you that type of thing. And then the blue and light blue, it would be a different material that is similar, but it's different. The different colors that same material, but just different variations to try to play with that. So.
Make a motion to approve COA 1065.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
This is fun.
We're firing them up.
I think we should.
Somebody really want us to be in Arbor Hill.
Pretty simple. Yeah, so now this is just up the street on 23 Second Ave. And here, just to change it up, so it's not exactly the same building. Here there is some lap siding along with some of the panels, which are similar to these here. And then, we're still, finalizing the colors of the bottom brick, but it would be full brick. These are full little brick water tables with a little precast sill. And then the idea is that underneath the brick where the foundation wall is, we would have like a split face CMU that's more of a similar to the brick in terms of thickness that comes down to give it a different texture. So it's not just plain concrete. You can see it there so basically the bottom of the brick is the floor line. And this is the main entrance here, or actually the main entrance is on the other side, which it's always, so here, because it's at grade, you can have, again, here on the left, you go to the units, both on the ground floor and the ones above, and then on the right, you go to a laundry, which you can see through the storefront windows, and then a fitness room.
I don't know if the white wall doors work out as well.
Yeah, they
were
should have been similar to the other ones.
They're a little
Should be.
darker.
Yeah. Typically, we would make them match the trim of the windows. That one did kind of slip in there. So.
Make a motion to approve COA 1066.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1066 is carried.
So 33 Second is the last of the big buildings along Second Ave. It's similar to the one down that has sort of the blue panels there. Here, the main entrance is along Tunis. So this is what you would see on Second Ave. And here would actually be our community room. And the reason why we put the community room on this side was if you go to the Tunis street elevation, it has a longer sort of exposure. The building is it's not as square as the other ones because of the site. It's a little bit more elongated. So this one does have the big building that's there on that side. Obviously, the building that is further down the hill, and it will be shorter, because I think that big brick building, even though it's 3 stories, when you're at that bottom corner, it feels almost like a 4 or 5, because it's really tall.
It's huge.
So here it just kind of showing, and again, this building relates to the buildings, the 3 stories that are to the right of it. Obviously, the big building there is larger, but it's kind of hard to match that.
School 17.
And then you can see here on Tunis, we also have a lot of development. So this would be sort of at the top of that hill.
Make a motion to approve COA 1067.
Second.
Motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? COA 1067 is carried.
I believe these are, yeah, so this is one of the 4-bedroom, 2-story, single-family home. So in this one here, it is a very narrow, like the description of the zoning, which requires a certain setbacks on each side to be equivalent to about 8 feet. And given the size of the lot, really squeezed us. Maybe we can work with the city to maybe find ways to, again, it's one of these things where we went through a lot of different processes, and one thing that we want to do is do everything as of right to not have to go in front of variance boards. So we were able to make this work. If you compare, I don't know if you compare it to what we had in October, but one of the things that was done was shifted a little to the right. Those windows centered the building a little bit more, gave it more of a trim, presence to it, and again, it made the ground floor door entrance a little taller and bigger, so that it could, especially given the scale of the building, kind of fit in a little bit more. They changed the color to a much more neutral color with some pop with the door and the canopy. And obviously what we discussed about the railing or the stoops.
Make a motion to approve COA 1068.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? In this view, 1068 doesn't look like the detailed view.
Yeah, so I think we might have mixed up 1068 and 1069. One of them has a stoop and the other one doesn't. So it's
Right.
just,
One of them has the entry on the left side.
yes, and that's because of the grade.
Okay.
So it is a mirrored, and that's because it just makes more sense to have the grade on the high side. So as you can see, all the entrances there are on the right.
Sure.
So I think what happened was, I think our front elevation of our building is reversed. So that needs to get,
Need to mirror that.
yeah, it needs to mirror it. I don't know how that happened.
I'll make a note and I'll email you about it.
Okay, yeah, and it's great because they're both the same, so it's just a matter of matching it. Yeah, so basically that needs to go the other way.
Make a motion to approve COA 1069.
Second.
Motion to approve, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1069 is carried.
So does 1069 also need to get mirrored?
Yeah, both of them will have, well, you know what we'll do is, yeah,
It should be what.
yeah, it should match that. So it's just a matter of our floor plans being mirrored so that they match that.
Yeah.
But that's a good
I'll
catch,
just
yeah.
shoot you an email just so we have it on record.
Yeah. So when we, give the floor plans, that it's the other way. So these are three houses with, I believe it's like empty lot, existing house, empty lot, existing house. So here, this is the one where we added, it's very similar to that red one is missing its panels down below, but it was one where we added just a different color I believe there's like some bright red buildings in that area, so I think there is a street view. But it's basically the same as the other buildings, it's just kind of varying the colors a bit. And I didn't want to do it the red with that red brick that's there on the side, but it's, it's sort of a play with some of the existing brick that's there, so.
Making a motion, make a motion to approve COA 1070.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion as stated?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 1070 is carried.
This one might be another single family home. No, so the one on the left is what we had in October, and then we got rid of the board and batten just to not, introduce something that's really foreign to this area. And then we went with very similar to what we have for the other ones. So this type of building is sort of spread out throughout the site.
Make a motion to approve COA 1071.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How many more we got?
11.
How many more?
Keeping a tally, so whenever you do need
That's fine, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
15.
We're giving that one to Jen.
Oh, yes, you're right. My math is best.
So this is the last large building, and this is the one that's on South Pearl, so it is different than the other ones. The base does look a lot more salmony here than it did on my computer, but that's okay. Yeah, so if you look at this one is, and we talked about it at the last meeting, again, the panels that were added at the bottom to kind of create this different sort of, or to make them similar. And here, this building is along South Pearl, so there's this sort of datum of storefronts that go all along the main street. So on the left is a living unit on the ground floor, and then on the right, where you have that larger storefront, is a tenant space for an available tenant to use. So I think one of the things we did here was just kind of play a little bit with the fiber cement to make it a little bit more stone-like, but it's still fiber cement material with the brick base at the bottom. But it kind of goes more in rhythm with the buildings that are there in terms of the rectangular windows kind of there at the front.
What color is it supposed to be if it's not so?
A little less salmony, like there's this that one will be like a different color, but the idea was that it would be a beige and then a sort of reddish kind of beige, so maybe.
Okay, so like a redder.
Yeah, like not pink.
It's much more reserved in the package than on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, different screens have different. Sort of.
It is a departure from the historic character of the neighborhood.
This one.
Except that it's on South Pearl Street, which is commercial, high traffic church street.
I make a motion to approve COA 1072.
Second.
You didn't think I was gonna do it.
That doesn't look roast.
All those in
It's gonna be here
favor
till
of
9.
1072 as stated?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 73 is carried.
Also, real quick, Jack, I remember you mentioning you were gonna head out at 7, you got
Yeah,
5 seconds.
I've got 3 minutes here.
So 1, 2 minutes. I believe this one's a corner building. There are windows on the side of this one here, and this was a site plan review discussion. I don't know if you have yeah, so we did need to put some, and there's no vertical, that vertical is banned, again, is a graphic glitch. This one was really complex in the sense that it is, all of our buildings face Second or, Tunis or Clinton, and then the sides are a little bit more like bathrooms, utility. We have bedrooms in the back, which is fine because we have windows in the back. But then on the sides, that's where our laundry, storage closets, bulk storage, and utilities are all on that side. And then in site plan, they said you need to make this at least 30% opaque, or transparent. So then it was a big challenge on the ground floor specifically. So we did have to put some windows on some rooms that we would typically not put, and the little one there being the bathroom, which would have safety frosted, kind of a frosted glass or so. But we had to make that side along 3rd Avenue have some type of fenestration. So we worked really hard to get that to be, in the bedrooms, it makes sense. The bedroom, living room makes sense. But then you're putting some in a closet and a bathroom. So. Oh, no, kitchen. That's a kitchen actually. That's why it's little, because it's a counter that we couldn't reach, and then the other one is a bathroom. We flipped the interior of that unit around to try to get as much, because you wouldn't put it in a mechanical room in that window.
You also wrapped the corners.
Yes, we did. Yeah, and there the corner wraps all the way around because it faces, as you can see there, 3rd Ave.
173,
I make a motion to approve COA 1073.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1073 is carried.
My apologies. What do we have left? 9 left, something like that?
10 left.
10 left. Okay, thank you. In the assembly, what you would say is there's no opposition, you vote with the chair. That's for committees.
This is 2 buildings. One faces, the one on the left, 36 3rd, faces actually 3rd Ave. And then 4 Tunis faces Tunis, and then the entrance for 36 3rd is along Tunis. So it's one of those kind of wonky sites. But it's a long rectangular corner lot. It's not a square, so you can't flip the buildings around. So here, this is one where we previously had 2 buildings that looked exactly the same. There was a comment about change the colors, make them look like 2 separate buildings, which we did. And per also site plan review, we had to put windows on the left of that smaller building there. And there we were able to kind of make them a little bit bigger because there were bedrooms and the layout worked out differently. But the cornice wraps around, so along 3rd, it doesn't look like just a blank wall. And that south elevation is between that building and another building on Tunis, so you wouldn't really see that.
You did such a nice job.
Thank
with
you.
all
Yeah,
this.
very
Like,
nice.
really, it looks great.
Really nice.
It looks so great.
Make a motion to approve COA 1074.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1074.
And just real quick, this is another one where it steps down, so when we get to that 2-story building that's existing, then the 2 on the left kind of match that, and then the ones going uphill kind of, step up and down. this is 29 Third. I believe it's just the building, I'd have to look at it in reference to the other buildings, but it's on grade, so it has the opportunity to step right in, and then, yeah, so it's next to that. Obviously, that's more of a commercial building there, but we were able to have those two buildings on the left, which was another one that, being the same color, looked like a larger block, but here it looks like two separate buildings, so.
Make a motion to approve COA 1075.
Second.
And this is one where in the larger view, you've got the door on the left.
Is that another flip there?
And the detailed view, the door is on the right.
Okay, let me see that one. So that one there, if you go to the street view, yeah, okay, we'll flip that one as well. Just make sure that our floor plans match the street. And these are sort of the master elevations that work with the site, so the individual floor plans will then be rotated to match that.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second. And a notation for rotating or flipping. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 1075 with condition is approved.
Yeah, and again, it's because that on the site plan, when we're doing the site, we can see that it's going uphill, so it makes sense to have the door on those sides there. So those are the two buildings that we saw to the left of that building there. So here, because it's a flatter site, they are level with each other. So then the trim kind of breaks up the two buildings and gives you more of a two-building relationship.
Make a motion to approve COA 1076.
Second.
A motion and a second, 1076. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? 1076 is carried.
So this is one that's very similar to one that's along Broad, just that here we have two with the panels. And then and you can see on again, it's a relatively flat site. So it allows us to have all slab on grade. And this existing, and I don't know if there is a street view, there is no buildings next to it. Just down the street over there, but to the left there, it's all empty lots. So, but there is, I guess there must be something in between the last building and that one on the left. But I'm not sure if I think it's an empty lot that has an owner that isn't the land bank, so.
I'm curious, where does Tunis come down the hill to Third here? Are we?
There'll be some other.
There'll be,
yeah,
we'll get to
the
see that.
1120, you'll see those go down.
Got it.
Yeah. So Tunis is very steep. It
Yeah.
goes down. So that's the one and it's steep both ways, this way and that way.
Make a motion to approve COA 1077.
Second.
And this is where it jumps. I do remember that.
We have a motion and a second for 1077 for approval. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? 1077 is carried.
Yeah.
This changes everything.
Yeah, that 1077, it changed, I remember that. Yeah. So I believe this is one that's by itself. Yes, it's very similar to the other ones that we saw. And this, and yeah, so it fits into the lot, and I guess you would have to see it with the site. So it's next to that building there. So here is Clinton Street along here. So you have that sort of, that's down the hill and that's up the hill.
Make a motion to approve COA 1170.
Second.
A motion and a second
also
Does anybody
Steven,
need like a break or a pause?
I think we could just try to finish it.
Okay.
That's okay with you guys, unless you guys want water or bathroom.
Anybody need one?
You know, it's kind of like when NFL teams have a bye week and then it goes off on the rails.
Who knows what'll happen if we take a break?
No.
So
Lose
this-
the momentum if we take a break.
Chris gets locked outside.
That happened to me once, so I went to the stewards and I came back and get it. So is this one that also has to be flipped?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll really look at those to mirror it. So yeah, so 10, so this, and I think the reasoning is that this, but we have specific DPRs for these, so we will make sure that on the floor plan, they're shown correctly as they are on the site plan. The individual ones, you know, can really go either way because it's just, there's no relationship to another building, but those we'll just flip in plans.
Make a motion to approve COA 1171.
Second.
A motion to approve and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1171.
Yeah. Two for sure. So this is where the real steep ones begin, the ones that we had seen. Well, actually, the next one would be. But this is where if you see the overall plan, they begin to go up and down the hill. So it's very similar to the other one that we had along Broad, which gives some variety. And
Make a
this is.
motion. Go ahead. I'll let you
This is the
finish.
side that, across the street from this is where they're up the hill. Here they're down the hill. No, shut up.
Make a motion to approve COA 1172.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1172 is carried.
Yeah, so this, I think, yeah, this is where they start to get steep. It's interesting that one has a 10, yeah. And that one had 2 bricks, okay. So this is similar to the other ones, it's just that here's where we start dealing with some stoops. You weren't here earlier, but we talked about, there are some designs that we are looking into to change, because most of these, so one of the things that we did for this is our stoops and staircases are sort of these monolithic concrete steps and walls to really, so that they don't fall apart. If they're wood, you know, you have to replace them. If they're just, you know, metal with posts, then, you know, there's always that problem of the columns, you know, getting rusted out or anything like that. So what we are thinking for the large areas with stoops is doing a metal panel, or sorry, a metal pan staircase with the concrete wall. So from the exterior, they'll look the same, but on the return, there could be a little gate, and we'll be working with ownership and really only where it works, where there's enough height to be able to put in. So like in that one there, the only one would be 24, that would make sense. That would have a little gate there, because the other ones, by the time you have the framing, you can't get a trash can unless you put it horizontally. So,
And I remember we talked about that.
yeah.
Yeah, Aaron, we'll just amend if they need to.
Have you thought about changing the color of either 24 or 26?
Yeah, that, just looking at it from, I was surprised that those were two together, but we could, we have many color options that we can choose from there. So you can condition that to.
You already know. I make a motion to approve COA 1173.
Second.
Yeah, so 1173 and 1174 are part of a, like, you know, kind of like the Broad Street one where there's like a 4 block and a 6 block. So here's a 4 block, and we can go to the next one.
have a motion and a second for 1173 for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1173 is carried.
2 remaining.
This we call timeout nice together.
So here's one that's the little big one there. So this is where, in some of these, we'll be able to, obviously be able to use the bottom of the stoops for, and yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to do initially was push the buildings back to be able to do the staircases that go, kind of row house style, but it's not permitted in the area. So the only way to really do this is to create the stoop similar to the other ones. But here, obviously, this is uphill, pretty steep. It's actually really quite steep. And we lowered the buildings. I don't know if you have a comparison to what we had previously, but they were higher. And we worked, this is one where we're working with the site plan to really figure out the grading, because it's just one of these situations where it's really steep. But still not tall enough to put a unit below, because otherwise things get buried pretty quickly.
Make a motion to approve COA 1174.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 1174 as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1174 was carried.
Make a motion to approve CO 1175.
Something happened there. The building doesn't do that on the bottom, on the top right.
The picture, when we went on top of the frames.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
I don't know if the PowerPoint
It
did.
could be the
It
PowerPoint.
is, that's the watermark for the city.
Well, anyway, this is pretty similar to all the others we've approved. So to save you from talking. CO, make a motion to approve COA 1175.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion is stated. Opposed? 1175 is carried.
You are done.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Good job.
Much appreciated.
They look great.
And we're really excited, as you can tell by my enthusiasm. But to really make this happen. So yeah, no, the team, not to me, but our team has been working on this so long that it feels, right to give it its due process. But yeah, these are overall site, views. It's obviously a lot. We're working a lot with these colors that are here for the statement collection with James Hardy, and just trying to really make this as cost effective as possible, but add variation. And yeah, but thank you guys so much. I think it's been a process, but we got to finish.
When are you looking to break ground?
Well, that's an ownership question. We, obviously we have to go through all of our site plan reviews and our sort of entitlements with that. Those will be the next steps. Building permits, submissions, and drawings, and then I think with the state, there's hope that we can close by at some point next year, maybe Q4 next year, and then start construction as soon as we can. But and obviously, it's going to be phased out. It's 62 individual structures. So.
I have a couple comments. One on the exterior facade materials sheet in the package. It just requires clarification. It talks about fiber cement siding on front elevations. I would think front and street facing elevations, because you do have some that wrap the corner.
Right. Yeah. So any main, right? Yes. And we've noted those in our drawings, because with where we have fibers, where we have corner lots, definitely will. Yeah. well, you can note that and we'll just clarify that as a response.
And then vinyl sidings on the rear and again, non-street facing.
Non-street facing, correct.
They don't have to receive approval for construction from the state federation. They have gone through the archaeological review and other portions of the review, the environmental and other things.
Good.
Last item, we also talked at the, or mentioned at the workshop, the fact that you are building very close to or adjacent to existing structures, so there should be a very carefully written out procedure for what is done to inspect the neighboring building before construction begins, verify its condition and photograph it, and then as construction proceeds to monitor what goes on with the neighboring building.
Yeah, and we have had internal discussions about that. One of the reasons why we went with slab on grade was because digging in for the basements was going to require us to compromise some of the adjacent foundations. So
Yeah, I think yours, because you are slab on grade, most of these buildings presumably have basements. So,
Right,
you know,
so-
almost all of them probably.
yeah, so
So they have deep foundations.
So the ownership group, or the home ownership project, the city has commented on, you know, on some of those, or other developments where that has been an issue. Because some of these, you can see some of these buildings got, you know, a building got torn down, whatever's exposed is in the greatest shape, so
Yeah.
we will have to be cognizant of that, and there have been discussions with structural, making sure that, you know, that's why we're also staying away as much as possible from adjacent buildings and not building right along the property line.
Yeah, no, you're about 3 feet away on average.
Three, yeah, about three,
3
yeah.
feet or more.
Yeah.
Away from.
I think 3.5 is what we're permitted,
Yeah.
so maximum, so that's what we're trying to maintain where we can.
No pile driving.
No, we'll be doing slab on grade foundations and then foundations for the stoops, but then those are not concerned with the adjacent foundations. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. No, I think this is a great project. We look forward to filling all of those missing teeth down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anyone online still, or,
Jeff, John from.
I don't know if he wants to say anything or comment or anything. John, you can if you want.
No, I just want to say thank you. This has been an incredible undertaking, and Eduardo and the team have done great. And we're really looking forward to being part of the team to make this area revitalized. And I just can't thank you guys enough.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Yes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and looking forward to taking the next step. So thank you very much.
It's our pleasure.
All right, thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
You going back to Rochester tonight?
Not tonight, no, I'm actually, so I went to college in Tulane, and Tulane is playing West Point for the AAC championship. So, you know, I have to do a bunch of push-ups before I get in there, but Tulane is having some buses out from New York City, for alumni, so I'm gonna join them. And we have an office in Newburgh, so we're just gonna stop by
Good.
tomorrow and then go to a game. I haven't been to a game in 20 years, so since I was in New Orleans.
Enjoy.
It'll be cold for the players because they're all from New Orleans. So I came prepared, but I don't know if they are.
The hardy Rochester weather makes you prepared.
Yeah, I have so much gear. My kids have so much gear, so it's amazing. They have like a type of gloves for all. My wife is from Rochester, so she has pretty well trained. So. Still work in progress. But thank you guys.
You drive safe.
Complete with white man's bags.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like sometimes I'm embarrassed. We'll go to baseball practice with my daughter, and I'm like, oh, we took the Wegmans bag, and there's like 3 other kids with Wegmans bags and bats. All right, well, thank you guys.
Thanks.
And I
Happy
will,
holidays.
happy holidays. And, we will hopefully, you guys will be seeing this being developed, so. Looking forward to it. It's been a couple years in the making, so.
So just quick housekeeping thing for New Jersey. In front of you, you all have the next year's meeting schedule. So the next meeting is January 9th.
Is there a rhythm to the meetings? Because I wanted to put in a recurring meeting invite, but they're not consistent. Is it like every 4 weeks?
So there's supposed to be, but they're scheduled, we avoid like major holidays. Or
Most of them, so it's usually like the first full week of the month. Like we have all the meetings back to back in time, the first full week. At these portions.
So it's like the first Thursday after the first Monday of the month.
Except for when there's a holiday.
Yeah, if you do see anything, we already kind of had planning board has identified that like they're going to have forum issues with at least one of the meetings that we know of. So if you do know if like January or February, you're not going to be available, like ask right now, that way we can discuss that, make sure that everybody's getting notified.
Actually, I already notified
Yeah.
Chris.
So we-
I'm not gonna be here
Yeah.
for
January.
January 9th.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be gone October 9th.
Okay, October 9th, but yeah, so as soon as.
Wow, that's a year.
We're doing a trip to Portugal for Arch. So I'm going for work. Why?
Awesome.
That's good.
Members have an interest?
Sure. For a mere $5,000.
And we did, I think you all should have received an email this afternoon with these dates as well, so, and kind of increase our attendance.
And the training.
I've seen that from Jan.
Yeah, I got the attendance policy and then I was late. I felt so bad.
Hey, you know? When you don't have a car, it's easy to.
A kid was at practice and I couldn't leave until they got back, so I was like.
But yeah, if you do know of dates, just make sure to make us aware well in advance so that we can either make accommodations so we know we're not going to have forum or, you know, just, we have a calendar.
I wrote,
Oh, we need a motion.
Jaslyn. I wrote Jaslyn maybe a month ago.
Okay.
About our checks. She had mentioned in correspondence to us back in the middle of the year, I would say, about us getting a check on the 10th of October and 10th of December. And
We got the October one, right?
No.
Oh, we didn't.
we haven't received any.
No. No, we don't have to adjourn.
I didn't know if this was relevant.
Oh,
Up to you guys.
It's relevant.
So none of you have received payment except.
When did we receive it?
We received the payment, I don't know, it was in May
Oh,
or sometime, May or June.
It was over the summer.
Now, we've received one since then. I'd have to go back and look.
No, we'd have, because she said
But they
we
got
would,
back to
we
that.
would receive a check. I gotta go back in my email, but we received a check for $1,750 back in, I don't know, could have been May
okay.
or June
Right.
August
And-
20th,
Okay.
August 19th, I got a check.
for $1,750.
Just looking at my emails right now.
So that was the last time that you.
Yep,
That's the last time.
1750.
And she said,
Okay.
and she said that,
But
The check.
Justine did respond to your email, correct? The
I
last
think
of
so,
it?
no.
So I believe that there was an issue with, she's no longer handling the payment.
oh, okay.
So one of the other staff members in the services handled all the.
Okay, so we need his
I believe-
name and home number.
I'm not-
I need his home number,
Continue your address.
address, license plate number. I'm only kidding, I don't want to.
But I believe that there may have been a hiccup with something, either she didn't have something that she needed, so I believe Justine has provided her with the information, but I will double check with her. I'm gonna be in the car with her tomorrow on my way to a conference, so I will double check with her, make sure that if she hasn't already cleared it up, that it's done first thing, we get that.
And I see a note that it's supposed to be issued December 10th, what she wrote on July 29th, which I think was different than what was originally said.
Oh, okay,
But-
because originally it was October 10th and then December 10th.
And there have been
Yeah.
issues because the amount had been changed.
Right.
And so there was a lag
she
because
said it
they had to go through an approval process and other items.
And actually, this email says the payments are to be issued 3 times, April 10th, August 10th, and December 10th. But then 2 paragraphs down, she says, then there'll be 2 more payments after the August, October 10th and December 10th. So they said 2 things.
I'll double check with her and I'll just make sure and yeah.
Do the other boards have the issue that we have?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, so, and the thing
I'm
is
just
that-
curious, I won't be alone.
And the thing is that, I mean, we're issuing payments to all 3 boards, and you are each set up individually, so we have to go through a process for each of them individually for all of these boards. So your board is 7, we have 17 people that we have to like do the accounting process for. So it's not like.
It's a lot of- it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Wait.
Which, like, the city can't set that up in QuickBooks or something? Like, I can do that at Arch. Like,
It's the way that and it has to go through multiple government policy, it's go through multiple phases before we issue a final payment.
I emailed her and I never got a response. Maybe she did.
I'll double check with her
It's
tomorrow.
no problem, as long as we all on the same page, that's why it comes through.
Any other items that come before the commission?
Like, as if you ready to leave, man, you ready to leave?
Just one thing, next Friday, Chris will be officially walking across the stage and receiving his diploma for his master's degree.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Where's the stage? Someplace nice and warm?
I don't know. Tallahassee's in the 40s right now, it's gonna be the 30s when I go.
how exciting.
Meet with him and he's taking people back to Florida.
Congratulations.
So with that, I would wish everyone a happy holiday season coming up.
Yes.
A happy New Year.
Same to you.
Congratulate Chris on obtaining that degree. Seek a motion from somebody to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
You've been the master of
Second.
motions.
You have.
Yeah, 27 motions, huh?
Now
Yeah, all
28.
20s.
All those in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned for 2024.